7 a.m. in the Mile High City on this Thursday, November 6, 2025. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, and center. Oh, it got spicy that last hour. We're talking the government shutdown. Who do you blame? Sean Duffy, Secretary of Transportation, announcing a 10% reduction in capacity at 40 locations across the country. DIA stepping up to pay the FAA, the air traffic controllers themselves, and hoping to get reimbursed by the federal government after the fact. The Democrats saying that we must add in Obamacare subsidies in order to reopen the government. Republicans saying open it with a clean continuing resolution. Just continue the government going the way it is. We can debate Obamacare subsidies, and that then spun off into debates on Obamacare subsidies and whether or not the federal government should be subsidizing your health care. Let's go to Rick in Denver. Good morning, Rick. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. You remember, it hasn't been that many years ago, there was a shortage of eggs and the price was high.
Yeah, it was like last year.
Yeah, just last year. It was kind of a crisis, but they're low now. The grocery stores have them for on sale $4 a dozen. So
they figured it out. The market figured it out. Did the government have to do anything in order to make that happen?
Well, it's a big thing. It's a lower price than grocery stores.
I know. It is nice.
Yeah, for eggs, but other things are going up.
Yeah, but they will. They'll go up. Cider will go up. There's a lot of sources of cider in this country.
No, but overall, the arching prices inside of the grocery store are trended up, especially since January. Yeah, and the only reason I bring that up is because the guy in the White House said that he was going to immediately bring prices down. Didn't happen. Just saying.
I thought you just said the eggs
they're still pretty affordable. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah,
all right, Rick, appreciate it. All right. We'll continue. Give us a phone call if you want to join the conversation, 303-696-1971. Text us on the Dan Caplis Law text line at 720-819-5115. Now it's time for News and Comment with Blake Olson.
Blake Olson.
Blake Olson, News and Comment.
Good Thursday morning, 45 and mostly cloudy in Denver. Expecting a high of 66 today. News sponsored by Pastor Camp Heating and Air Conditioning at 303-777-1234 to learn more about special savings opportunities on Lennox equipment. Our top story, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, as Jeff just said, says flights will be reduced by 10% at 40 airports nationwide starting tomorrow because of the impact of the Schumer shutdown.
Many of the controllers said they can survive without one paycheck. Virtually all of them cannot navigate financially missing two paychecks. We see that on the horizon. We need to take action.
DIA wants to reduce the stress caused by the Schumer shutdown by using its own money to pay air traffic controllers. Airport officials asked the FAA for a waiver to make those payments Wednesday. The airport would ask for reimbursement for those payments after the shutdown is resolved. Hey, let's make a deal, everybody. Let's make a deal. Some Senate Republicans say they're close to reaching a deal to end the shutdown as we hit day 37. A mini funding package that could get bipartisan support is nearing completion. All right, here's the deal. Thursday night football at Mile High tonight. I'll stop that. Mile High Stadium tonight, Thursday night football. Bo Nix and the Broncos go for 7 straight wins at the stadium, and Bo knows his team.
I don't think we're going to be able to be relaxed because we have a lot of guys that are competitive. We don't have a bunch of front runners, and we just got a locker room full of guys that are trying to race to improve and improve faster than everybody else in the league.
Staying humble, that's a good thing. Denver City Council has approved several amendments to the proposed city budget. Council members considered 27 budget amendments on Monday, approving 10 of them. The council unanimously approved measures to restore funding to the Office of the Clerk and Recorder and the Denver Auditor's Office. Mayor Johnston has until Friday to agree to the changes or veto them. Investigators in Lakewood trying to identify a man who may be following women on the Bear Creek Trail. Police say the man has been seen near apartments on West Dartmouth, Bear Creek High School, and other locations twice in the last month. He allegedly is targeting high school-age girls and mothers with strollers. The police department has released photos of the suspect and asking the public for help identifying him. The death toll from the UPS plane crash at Louisville's Muhammad Ali Airport has climbed to 12, including a child, while investigators say one of the plane's engines detached from the plane at takeoff. In-N-Out planning a special thank you to patriots.
The burger chain is offering a free meal to all U.S. veterans, active duty military reserves, and National Guard members for one day only. On Veterans Day, November the 11th, with ID, military members can score a free burger, fries, and a drink as a token of appreciation. This service-for-service deal is at all In-N-Out locations during normal operating hours. There are 424 In-N-Out burger locations across 8 states in the U.S. I'm Mark Mayfield.
And last night, Nikola Jokic, once again, another triple-double, 33, 15, and 16. That's 5 triple-doubles for the best player in basketball right now.
He has 16 assists already on 20 made field goals. That's good. Now Jokic has it. Alley-oop to Gordon. Splash one.
Thank you, Chris Marlowe, and Scotty doing the game once again, 122 to 112. Nuggets over the Heat. And then, let's see, after this game, Eric Spoelstra, the head coach of the Heat, ironically, flies home to Miami. They fly home last night after the game, after the loss to the Nuggets. And it must have been right when he got home. He's having his home remodeled and redone, so kind of a construction site. But it goes up in flames, and it looks like his house, a lot of it may have burned to the ground, or at least a portion of the remodeled portion of his home in Miami, the Heat, right after the loss to the Nuggets early this morning. NHL Capitals star Alex Ovechkin has made NHL history. He becomes the first player to score 900 goals. 42 in Brighton, 43 in Littleton, 45 in Denver. Jeff and Billy continue. Blake Olson, News Talk 710, KNUS.
We won't be quite as warm as yesterday, but still very mild for early November. As highs will be upper 60s to near 70s, sunny to partly sunny skies, breezy southeast winds, lows tonight in the low to mid-40s. Partly cloudy, breezy, winds picking up tomorrow afternoon, particular highs in the 60s, clear Thursday night, colder, lows lower 30s. Then we're looking at just 50s and lower 60s for highs Friday, upper 50s Saturday, Friday and Saturday cooler as a Pacific front comes through, gusty winds as well. Meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. The debate is spicy this morning, and you're invited to be a part of it by giving us a call at 303-696-1971. Let's go to Chris in Lakewood. Good morning, Chris. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Good morning. That's probably the spiciest I've ever heard you two get in the last 2 years that I've called into the show. I just wanted to point out something that Bill touched on in regard to the current government shutdown. I have never heard of anybody being turned away for care. In fact, I've been there before when I've been laid off and, I get a bill in the mail from Common Spirit or whatever, and it says I owe $6,000, and then my wife tells him, hey, my husband's not working or whatever, right? you know what happens to that bill? It gets cut in half. It's not all together eliminated.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying to go rack up an amount of medical debt or whatever, which illegals are doing anyways. But what I am saying is that maybe the pressure should be put on these private institutions. They're just going to write it off, right? I mean, they're going to do something to that extent. In regard to the shutdown, I think it's very, very odd that Democrats are making these demands for healthcare subsidies from, Obamacare. And I'm not going to pretend I know all the nuances to that. But I do remember a time when I went to shop on the government website for Obamacare, and I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know who can afford that. $400, $500 a week? What's that, $2,000 a month? I mean, you're better off working for a private company, a successful private company, which isn't difficult. There's plenty of them in Denver, who can provide you decent health care. I'm a truck driver. I work for a very, very large company, and they have excellent health care. And they're not the only company that provides that. So this whole thing that Democrats are decrying that people are going to die and this and that and the other. Sure, if you have a severe disability, you're autistic, you're in a wheelchair, those people need it. The working man, the working woman, able-bodied people, they don't need it. That's not being apathetic. The tea in the harbor was dumped for less, Jeff and Bill. Yeah. I'm sure you understand this.
I got a question for you. Let's say that someone is working at one of those private employers and they get 32 hours a week. They don't get benefits. The employer is not going to increase their hours. They can go out and get a second job, but that second job doesn't give them 40 hours a week. What is that person's solution to get health care? Because
you ready for this?
Yeah.
You ready for this? It's real simple. Find a new job. I had 6 jobs last year, buddy. I'm a job hopper. You treat me like crap, I move on, And I'm not the only one. I'm not proud of that. I just have a very, just treat me right, because I treat people with dignity and respect.
We're at
a place, land of opportunity.
Yep, Chris, we are at a place where we are limiting our ability to get quality health care. It is getting more expensive. You now either have it tied to your employer or you have to have the government subsidize it. And as we continue to march down this road, it's less and less where you have freedom to be able to choose. You have lower quality of services. Everything gets more expensive. We are doubling down on a socialist view of the world with central planners, and it always makes things worse. And it's tied to this doom loop that somehow if the government's not involved, people are going to die in the streets. That has been the promise about the government and socialism and communism for 100+ years.
Yeah, there's a lot of boogeymen wrapped up into that, but I got a question for you, Chris. When is the time in which you get to choose your healthcare provider? Meaning your insurance. When is the time you get to choose that?
Well, it varies from an employer, right? There may or may not be a probationary period, right? 30 days,
I'm asking. So you get the private, because again, we talked about the 32 hours. You said just go get a full-time job because, of course, as we know, that's super easy. No, it's not, but that's okay. If that's your idea, that we need to go get a full-time job, 40 hours a week, and make sure you get it, because even Walmart doesn't employ all their employees full-time, so it's not necessarily that easy. And for a while, the vast majority of people at Walmart weren't full-time because they knew that you and I, the taxpayers, would pick up what they're not going to give their employees, and that would mean health, food, and rent support. Now, what I'm asking is, when you've gotten that private employer and you've got 40 hours a week, how many times have you gotten to choose your insurance provider?
If I remember correctly, mostly every time.
Actually, no. I'm not sure you do.
Oh, you mean actually choose?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So do you get to choose? Do you get Aetna? Do you get Kaiser? Do you know? Your employer tells you. So what I'm saying is this idea that that the free market works. We don't have a free market for insurance carriers. We don't have anything close to a free market.
Of course.
We don't have anything close to it. So the idea that, oh my God, only the free market could come in and save this, we don't have anything close to a free market. Nothing.
And so what we're deciding to do is double down on socialism.
Again,
that's the pathway we're going to, the central planning of our healthcare system. Go ahead.
Here's a solution. Here's a solution that errs on the side of Bill. I do think that maybe people are resorting to the government for this type of problem is because the healthcare industry is a scam, just like the insurance companies are a scam. They overcharge people at an exorbitant amount, and they drown people in debt. And if you don't pay it, in some instances, they garnish your wages. And so there needs to be.
Chris,
I'm all about
I agree
the free
with you.
market,
I agree with you. It's not transparent. It's been monopolized. Those are types of things that I completely agree with you on. What frustrates me is that in everything we do that we hand to the government, look at higher education right now. Look at our housing. Look at our SNAP benefits. I'm looking at Democrats yesterday celebrating how many kids we feed in this state. This isn't liberty. This is dependency. It's bottom line slavery. You can't get anything in this country without the government providing it to you anymore. Yeah. That's a problem.
And also realize, though, that Medicaid is very efficient based on the money spent. They spend the least amount on administration and overhead costs than compared to any other insurer. And also, Chris and Jeff, remember, keep in mind that insurance as a whole doesn't necessarily function at the core of the free market because it is an industry that thrives when you don't use the product. You don't open a restaurant and hope that nobody comes in. You don't open a gym and hope that you get no members. You don't open a movie theater. You're
penalized for using it. Yeah.
Yes, you're penalized for using it. So the idea that the free market can fix this, I think, is misguided in and of itself because the insurance gig isn't done through free market principles.
And
they
insurance
don't want you
versus
to do it.
Healthcare is different. All right, Chris, appreciate the call. We got to get to a guest here. That was a fun debate. Thank you to Mr. Thorpe as well. All right, Dan Woog's joining us now. He's the president of the newly launched Colorado Center for Law and Order. He's a state representative as well. Good morning, Dan. Thank you for joining the Jeff and Bill Show.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, guys. Great to be here.
All right, crime. How's it going in Colorado?
It's thanks for asking it. It's not good. It's quite embarrassing, actually. We're ranked number 2 in public safety, and that's just behind New Mexico. And then we're actually the 3rd most dangerous state overall. And these are statistics from the FBI. So it's gotten progressively much worse over the last 7 years, and it's just brutal. We got to do something about it. I mean, it's obviously not good for any of our residents. It's bad for business. It's bad for everything, and it's unacceptable.
And it's something that kind of cuts through what should be the political differences out there. I think whether you're right or you're left, you want to live in a safe community. And it's time to hold lawmakers. It's time to hold these judges. It's time to hold these DAs accountable for the decisions that they're making. Look, Dan, you sit down there at the state capitol. You listen to your colleagues on some of these issues. There's a long list that the Common Sense Institute put out with regards to the legislation that was passed that puts us in this position where I think, I'm willing to say it, this state is criminal first. Puts criminals ahead of the victims. It's willing to go out of their way to make sure that criminals are treated well, that in fact, God forbid we incarcerate them. We're going to let them out. You've seen that with that recent law that lets mentally insane people with violent tendencies roaming free in our communities. So I think our current lawmakers, the current leadership of this state is willing to put criminals ahead of victims. What's your response?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's everything points to the fact that a lot of these legislators are pro-crime. I mean, the laws that have been instituted are hurting us, and it just keeps getting worse and worse. I mean, the example you gave is perfect. There was that guy in Greeley that got caught on the UNC campus with a firearm, and they deemed him incompetent to go to trial, to stand trial. So that's a major issue. I mean, I don't think many people know this, but that guy can speak 3 different languages. So you're telling me he's incompetent and he can speak 3 languages? We need and we've talked to law enforcement, DAs. The tests, the evaluations to judge competency is clearly not okay. I mean, if there's a guy, again, speaks 3 languages, yet they're saying he's mentally incompetent and can't stand trial. Something's not right there. So that's got to change. That law, it's HB 241034 that was passed, and that's where there's an issue. So something's got to be done about that.
And in that, you did have Republicans that supported that initially. I've talked to folks. I don't know if you were in the legislature when that happened, but a number of quality conservatives, I would say, supported that. Their concern was around keeping people incarcerated that have mental health issues. But the flaw was that if there's not a bed available, then they're mandated, that the judge is mandated to release these dangerous people out. And so I've talked to other Republicans that go, yeah, we got to fix that. We got that wrong. And look, I don't blame people when they get something wrong, so long as you try to fix it. Are you seeing a proposed fix possibly coming this legislative session? Have you heard anything from Republicans or Democrats on that?
Yeah, it's definitely in the forefront, and I have heard there's ongoing talks about it. It's difficult for me, guys, to get really excited because obviously me being in the minority down there, it just seems like the laws coming out are really strong for law enforcement, in my opinion. So yes, there's talks. I know some people are meeting about it, but we're going to have to see what they come up with. I mean, like I said, I think there's a serious issue with the evaluations on these criminals. And you're right. Constitutionally, you can't put them behind bars if they're incompetent. So it sounds like, again, what we really got to attack is how are we judging their incompetence? Because I think that's a weakness right now. So we'll see where it goes. And you're right. Democrats are on the spot. I mean, they're going to have to do something. The question is it really going to be an improvement? Because we've seen laws looked at and attempts to amend things, but it doesn't always work out for the best. So the pressure's on, though. The pressure's on the Democrats for sure.
That's Dan Woog. He's a current state representative, also the president of the newly formed Colorado Center for Law and Order. And in full disclosure, I'm part of this effort, along with former Speaker of the House Frank McNulty. And our hope with this, one, is to educate and continue to expose the problems that Colorado has on crime issues that we think are being exacerbated as a result of weak on crime policies that are out there. So on one hand, we want to go and work at the state legislature to identify the laws that are creating these problems and address them, confront them, hopefully repeal them in some cases. But we've got to put community safety first. Secondly, we think there's a lot of judges out there who are, frankly, criminal first. They think about the concerns and needs of the criminals as opposed to the victims and the safety and needs of the community, and they need to be exposed. Oftentimes, this is like the number one question I often get around election time. Jeff, what do you think of judges? What do you think of judges? I'm like, well, we've lived in Colorado long enough that they're pretty much all appointed by Democrat governors. So, yeah, just vote no on most of those judges. But you have some out there, and I've seen it from DAs as well, that are losing their minds with these particular judges that are willing to let out violent criminals on personal reconnaissance bonds, I think that's what it's called, without any type of cash having to be put up. And so they commit a crime and they're out the next day or even the same day. Those judges can lose their seats in these elections, and they should. And then finally, we want to just continue to push out into the news and before people on social media and others the crime problems we're facing. Because I think there's a desire by elected officials to try to bury them in an effort to look good so they can get reelected. And that needs to be exposed. That's kind of part of what we're putting this together. Did I miss anything there, Dan Woog?
No, I think you hit the nail on the head, and you're right. That's something we hear all the time, especially me as an elected. I get questions when the ballots come out. Hey, how should we vote on these judges? People are calling us, and I'm sure you as well. Like, how do we vote on these people? And that's just it. They're elected, yet they're not held accountable. I'm held accountable, and I should be. If you're elected, people should know how you're voting or what actions you're taking. So when these judges let people out, especially cashless bail, many of those criminals commit the same crime over and over again. I mean, that is a fact. The data says it. That's just unacceptable. And those judges the light should be shined on them. I mean, people at least need to know, hey, this is what's going on. This is what this man or woman is doing as a judge. And people need to know that. I think that's that pressure is good. I mean, it's good. Like I said, electeds need to be held accountable. People need to know how they're voting or the decisions they're making. And judges are no different than any other elected officials. So, yeah, I think this is going to be a very good organization that just gives people, like you said, some education and lets them know what's going on, and definitely puts some good pressure on DAs, judges, elected officials.
We've launched a new website, cololaw.org, cololaw.org, the Colorado Center for Law and Order, a charitable organization dedicated to promoting public safety through nonpartisan education, research, and support for victims and communities. CCLO conducts objective analysis on criminal justice issues, provides resources to enhance accountability in public institutions, and fosters collaboration with law enforcement to prevent crime and support effective, evidence-based practices in order to restore public trust in the justice system. I think we saw a heartbreaking response to the election on Tuesday, where Aurora, for instance, had the single greatest drop in violent crime out of any major city in Colorado. And voters go, nope, we're going to change the leadership down in Aurora. Danielle Jurinsky losing her election. And people are asking me, I've got text messages here. Do you think crime's going to go up in Aurora? I do. I think you've got to be one or the other. You're either tough on the criminals and you put victims in the community first and you have a no-nonsense approach to it, or you're weak on the criminals and you come up with these kind of, well, we don't want to over-incarcerate. God forbid somebody goes to jail, the school-to-prison pipeline, all this kind of progressive ideology when it comes to crime, just hoping that if you hug somebody a little bit more, that maybe they won't commit crime. So, Dan Woog, state representative, you look at the elections that happened on Tuesday. Are you optimistic for Colorado? Do you think it's going to get worse here as a result?
It's hard to say. Yeah, disappointing in some areas for sure. It's, the ratio is, I think we have like 50% unaffiliated voters. I think it's like 23% Republican and roughly, 27% Democrat. So, it's, I think a lot of voters focus on personality sometimes, but I'm of the opinion that I'm going to look at legislators that take action and get things done. And it is disappointing when someone like Danielle really shines the light on just horrendous crime going on and doesn't get reelected. Like you said, Aurora had taken a huge step in curbing crime, which is great. And I don't know, maybe people don't know that. I think, and that's just it. That's what we're trying to do. Let those people know what the numbers are and what's happening. I think maybe that changes some votes. So many people are busy. You got both parents working full time and just don't have the time to really dive in and see what the data is and see, who's causing what. So, I still have some optimism. It takes a lot of work, and I think that education component of what we're doing is huge, just to really let people know what electeds are doing what, and the data. I think if we get that in front of them, I feel strongly that we can change some minds and really get people thinking about what's most important to them. Obviously,
it's time to back the blue. It's time to put the criminals away. It's time to protect our communities and make Colorado safe once again. Representative Dan Woog leading the effort, along with former Speaker of the House Frank McNulty and myself, formulating the Colorado Center for Law and Order. We'd love for you to be a part of it. Go to cololaw.org, cololaw.org. Sign up there. There's a little place you can sign up to get some email announcements, but we're tired of it. Look, Frank, Dan, and I, we're all dads, and we're concerned about the direction of our communities, the safety of the cities like Denver, Aurora, Colorado Springs, the safety of our state. We've had enough. We're going to hold criminals accountable. We're going to hold the weak on crime judges, lawmakers, DAs accountable. This is not a partisan thing. This is a nonpartisan thing to make our communities safer. Go to cololaw.org to join our effort there. Dan, very grateful you're stepping up for this, and thank you for taking time to join us this morning.
Yeah, thank you guys. Have a great day, and I look forward to, just creating some change with this endeavor. So look forward to it.
Dan Woog, President, Colorado Center for Law and Order, cololaw.org. All right, we got jam-packed phone lines. Love it. Are you hungry? Thanksgiving's coming up. I want to talk to you about my friends at the Black Eyed Pea of Colorado, locally owned and run by Stephen Michelle. I love this restaurant. My whole family does. My daughter lights up when I take her to the Black Eyed Pea. She refers to it as like the best comfort food out there because it's locally sourced. They don't cut the corners either. It's quality food. They got 8 locations. There's sure to be one near you. Make it a family night. Take them out to eat at the Black Eyed Pea restaurant. Thanksgiving will be here 3 weeks from today. And you can be thankful that you don't actually have to cook if you don't want to. The Black Eyed Pea will be open on Thanksgiving Day from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and will be serving all of your holiday favorites: roast turkey and stuffing, glazed country ham, slow-cooked pot roast, and your choice of 2 sides. For dessert, choose between pumpkin or pecan pie or the cherry cobbler. Perfect for the whole family. And heads up, holiday catering will be available if you're doing that family gathering at home this year. Black Eyed Pea gift cards are always perfect for your spouse, birthday favors, or holiday presents, or as a thank you to someone special, get them a gift card. My family loves this restaurant. I know yours will too. Keep it in Colorado and visit the Black Eyed Pea near you. All right, we will continue. Phone calls and texts next. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Phone lines are hot. Let's go to Paige in Denver. Good morning, Paige. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Good morning. In 2021, there was a man by the name of Brian Murray, 41 years old, who was making trouble in Boulder. He was being followed by Chris Vanderveen of NBC. He had a gun. He had spent 18 years in both federal penitentiary and in jail. He was threatening, he was calling 911 6 times, threatening to kill the police, asking the police to kill him. He was finally arrested, taken to 3 mental hospitals. The first hospital had only a female on duty. She was afraid of the 6'4", 200 and some pound man. So they moved him to mental facility number 2, where there was no one on duty. And then they moved him to facility number 3, where he just sat there until he asked for his clothes back, and they let him go. He arrested, went in front of Judge Zachary Malkinson in Boulder Court. Zachary Malkinson let him go on his personal recognizance. He had $40 to his name. He came to Denver, went into our home, killed my husband, stole his car, killed him with a pipe wrench, and when that broke open his skull, but he didn't die, he was making noise. He then took an electrical tool of my husband's and wrapped it around his neck until he broke his neck. He now is in jail for life. But thanks to Zachary Malkinson, none of this could have happened. Had I have been making noise around Boulder for 3 days, calling 911 and making threats, they would have put me in a mental institution for the mandatory 3 days. Zachary Malkinson let him go on his personal recognizance.
I'm so sorry, Paige. Yeah, and this is where I get really worked up around why we battle over public policy, because I believe that there is a God. I believe there's a way that God has set up this world. And when our personal responsibility and our public policy does not reflect that, people suffer. And
I also
what bothers me, real quick, hold on, Paige, real quick.
The district attorney called me and invited me down to Boulder to apologize to me because he was very much against Brian Murray being let loose.
Well, and what you have here are progressives that misunderstand human nature, and they think that you can reason with some of these people. And if you just talk to them a little nicer and you just hug them a little bit more, they're not going to be violent, terrible people. And what you found out, Paige, is that there's just evil out there. And they got to be locked away.
Yes. Well, he is now.
Fortunately, it cost you your husband. I'm so sorry, Paige.
Yeah, we're so sorry.
Well, I
Thank you.
Appreciate your call. Thank you, Paige. All right. We want to go to Frank or Ben? Who should we go to? Ben? All right, Ben, good morning. Ben, you're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Yeah. Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, this kind of goes back to what you were talking about a little bit earlier, but the shutdown is 100% on Republican leadership at this point. There's been a bunch of bills introduced, and they're not bringing them to the floor that have been bipartisan. Jeff Hurd, for example, from Colorado, released one that would extend some of the subsidies for a couple years, but then phase out some of the things that are for kind of higher income earners. So there's less abuse with, some rich people.
So if we do what the Democrats ask us to, the government opens?
It's making concessions, Jeff. That's what you do when you negotiate.
And in this case, but you said that this is the Republicans' fault.
Yeah, because there's bills that are out there that are not coming to fruition, that are not being put on the floor. For example, you're talking about that,
and those bills require concessions to what the Democrats want.
Well, do you want to pay FAA employees?
I do. I want to open the government with a continuing resolution.
Well, there's a bill right now from Van Hollen that would pay all service members, FAA members, and all the federal employees. It's a standalone bill, but Republicans won't bring that to the floor. So we could start paying FAA members right now
And I know
Democrats
Republicans have tried to bring payment to the troops, for instance, and those types of things that haven't been able to make it through either. So I'll take a look at that bill. But why not just pass a continuing resolution? I mean, if Obamacare subsidies are so critical, why can't that stand on its own, Ben?
Because right now you're under a deadline. Open enrollment has already started, so this needs to be determined right away. You don't get time to tinker around with it and mess around with it. It needs to be negotiated now. It's under a timeline. You don't get to sit and wait till January 16th and try to figure something out then. It needs to be done now. And
what happens if something doesn't happen? If Republicans don't support the Obamacare subsidies, what's going to happen?
ACA benefits are expected to go up around 114% for most people.
And you think that'll probably make people pretty mad?
Yes, anyone that's on the ACA. And also that's going to increase insurance costs for everyone else, too. Because when you remove people from an insurance pool.
Again, I'll say, why, if it's so critical, like this thing has got to happen. If it doesn't happen, then the sky's going to fall. So that can't stand on its own. We can't get payment to the air traffic controllers today because of that Obamacare subsidy? Can't stand on its own?
You can do it today with the Van Hollen bill. You could get payment to air traffic controllers right now.
You would support that? You would support just a standalone bill to fund air traffic controllers without including Obamacare subsidies?
Yes, I would right now.
I probably would too. I probably would too. So maybe that's what we do.
So you could do that, and there's also stuff for SNAP. Josh Hawley has one for SNAP. Lujan from New Mexico has one for SNAP. So those are also options. So these things, but they're not being brought to the floor by Republican leadership. When Obama had his shutdown, do you know what he did? He dragged everybody in. He grabbed Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, and dragged all their asses down to the White House and said, we're going to work out a deal. And he didn't go 30-something days on that because he was like, we got to get this done. And Trump is busy, meanwhile, decorating the White House and renovating his bathroom. He's not putting in the work. He needs to go grab everybody, be presidential, sit them all down, and say, we're going to hammer this out.
And you think that the Democrats would negotiate?
They are negotiating.
Are they?
They're coming up. Yeah, there's Democrats on that Jeff Hurd bill.
What does the Jeff Hurd bill do?
So it opens up the government. It provides the 2-year extension onto the subsidies. It phases out some of the benefits for some of the higher earners on the ACA. So if you're making $200,000 or more, it phases those benefits out for people making higher incomes.
I mean, Ben, I understand that you think that that's compromise. I see it as Democrats continuing to keep the government closed in order to get these subsidies that they created with Obamacare. So, Ben, I appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Ben's line from Morrison will be open 303-696-1971. All right, we'll continue. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
This is Denver's Talk Leader, News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Phone lines hot as we're discussing crime. We're discussing the government shutdown. And this is the only station where you're allowed to be a part of the conversation. Other stations, you got to text in. They obviously don't want to hear your voice.
Or leave them a voicemail and maybe they'll play it later. That's great. It's just like a reminder of, hey, guess what we don't do? Take phone calls. We have to record you and then maybe we'll play you later. Yeah, that's not even a talk show. But oh well, other shows do their own thing.
That's why we're Denver's top talk radio show. Let's go to Janet in Casper. Good morning, Janet. You're on with Jeff and Bill.
Morning.
Hey, good morning. Jeff, you wanted to talk to somebody, or you were asking Bill who had been turned away from a hospital?
Yeah, who's denied 80s? Care?
Yeah, that would be me. So
what happened?
October 20th, 1981. I was in a motorcycle accident. I've told you guys about this, but I don't expect you to remember it. I was in a motorcycle accident that I should have been killed in. Wasn't wearing a helmet, hit my head. My right wrist was completely obliterated with my right hand off at about a 60-degree angle towards the pinky. I also had a fracture in my leg that they missed. I was taken to the closest hospital. And when they found out that they did an x-ray and stuff, but when they found out I didn't have insurance, they turned me away, gave me an aspirin, and said, you have to go to, this was in L.A., they said, you have to go to L.A. County Hospital to be seen. It was over 50 miles away. Mm-hmm. I had to have a friend come pick me up. She took me down there. It's where I saw my first dead body in the hallway.
But Janet, you got denied because you didn't have insurance.
Yes.
And you blame the hospital for that.
I don't blame the hospital. I don't blame anybody. I am telling you.
Well, why don't you blame yourself?
It wasn't available to me. I was a food server in LA. I had no benefits available to me whatsoever. It wasn't even an option.
I mean, so you didn't pay for it. You didn't have something that would pay the people to care for you, and Correct. You got denied the service.
Correct. I'm just telling you what happened to me. I'm not assigning blame anywhere. This is just anecdotal. That's what happened to me. And so I had to go to LA County. It was very scary. Just the week before I got there, they had made a pact with the gangs to quit stabbing each other in the hallways. I was put in a communal room with the prostitutes whose pimps who had beaten them up were there visiting them. But God took care of me, and it all worked out. I'm just letting you know, because you had said who got turned away
right.
to Bill, and I'm like, well, I did. So I'm just letting you know, I did. I'm not placing blame. I have no solution for the situation that we're in. None. I just said that's the way it was, and it happened to me.
Right. Well, and it seems to me like the pathway we're on is to provide health care like what you received at the end of that journey, where, I mean, government-run quality, government-run quality is everybody has equal misery.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with you. I totally agree. I also agree with you. I didn't have the benefits. The hospital had every right at that time to not see me, to not treat me. And I did object to them stealing my grandmother's ring, but, that's another story.
Well, and I wonder, too, look, I'm willing to make a distinction between somebody facing a life-threatening, like imminent type of death care and requiring hospitals to possibly, maybe care that. But that even there, I have a problem with it because we're so quick to jump and lump everything into that, force the government to step in, centrally plan, and forcefully subsidize healthcare to what you have right now. Right? And what you have with socialism is always this good intentions. We're just going to care for people, that type of thing. And where we are right now in 2025 is our healthcare services are declining. It is getting more expensive, and it's getting more centrally planned. And so, look, I'm sorry you got treated that way, but if the end result is everybody's healthcare sucks, I'm not willing to go down that road.
I agree with you 1,000%. It's a horrific mess. And I would say greater minds than mine have solutions, but they don't. And I agree with you 1,000%. I just, like I said, anecdotally, I am calling to let you know that's what happened to me. Yeah. I'm not complaining about it. I'm just letting you know.
Janet, appreciate the call.
Thanks, Janet.
That's Janet from Casper. Her line will be open. You're listening to Jeff and Bill.
This is 710 KNUS.